Hello, everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live. We would like to begin by acknowledging the First Nations people and pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. As we are creating today, I am a little bit unwell, so I'm a little bit off my game. But hey, we're here. It's Friday. What's going on, Johanna?
It is Friday indeed, and I think we're both feeling that. Thank goodness it's Friday. So we're just gonna have a chill, relaxing drawing time today. I've got a pretty fun but easy and sort of relatively still within my comfort zone idea today that I'm going to be working on, and you're going to do something similar.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited for some fun drawing time with you, Flynn.
Fun drawing time. I like that. Yep. So we're going to be doing some prompts and stuff. Hi, Manny in chat. How you doing? I'm going to try to keep an eye on chat, but there's a lot of windows to make this happen, to have Johanna and myself streaming at the same time. You think it will be simple, but it isn't. No. So all of my devices are all doing something, but I will try to keep an eye on chat as much as possible. But yes, so I've got both of our screens up. So Johanna, looks like you are in Fresco, and
yes.
I'm going to be in Photoshop mostly today, maybe a little bit of Illustrator. And the topic is strange worlds. So what direction are you taking this in?
Yeah, so I actually let Firefly take most of the control this time, besides the subject matter that I wanted to be drawing, really. So literally, the prompt that I put in was drawings of flowers and plants from strange worlds. And nice. Yes, no typos. Bonus points for me. Because I did write this out by hand just before the stream started. And then, as usual, the settings that I like to play around with are the golden hour lighting, or like the tones, pastel colors. And since this is just a flat image, not an object, I didn't have the blurry background prompt, but that's what I would otherwise use. And this, I believe, is using the digital instead of the design tag as well, and not the art one.
Right.
I believe that is what it's called.
Cool.
So yeah, we have some oddly like nostalgic and sort of antique floral like tapestry colors going on here. I've both selected some specific features of each of the prompts that I really liked here at the top. So the sort of the shading in the three colors, starting from left going to right. The first one, the green leaves, reminded me very much of Josef Frank, who's a textile designer, and one that I enjoy their work very much. And then also like that leaf on the last one to the right, I just thought the shading and the texture of it was really crunchy and nice. So this was my starting point, and then I just decided to collect some references of stuff that I've already done, as you can see here as I've zoomed out, to give myself a little sense of what I might do, what I've done in the past, and how I might mix the past and the present together into the future.
Lovely.
There we go.
I love it.
And that's me for today. Do you want to take over while I prep my canvas and tell us what you're going to do?
Yeah, let's jump over. Let's see. This is my... I'm going to do some stuff and things.
Really?
Yeah, but first, just a PSA. I'm going to kick off with a PSA just because we haven't had a time really to kind of mention it on the stream, but most of you will probably be aware that there is also some Firefly integration happening in some of the other apps, and Illustrator is the next one to get the Firefly treatment. So once again, sorry about my voice. I'm I'm pretty much bedridden at this point, except for this stream. I'm going back to bed. But this is like a highlight of the week is doing these Firefly Friday sessions, so I really want to do it. So Recolor is available now in Adobe Illustrator, and you may have seen some videos on it and things like that, but my PSA is that it doesn't just recolor, but it creates color from grayscale. And I think that's really important, because I was like, oh, I wonder if you can actually, if it manufactures the color or if it's remixing the color, if that makes sense. So like if you're in Photoshop and you put a filter over something, it's often using the data, like the color data, right, to desaturate or saturate or multiply and things like that. But if you have no color, it doesn't have any information to play with. And I think what is just an important thing to realize is that in Illustrator, it's you can add color. Now this is really cool, I think, for graphic designers, for logo designers and branding, people and stuff like that, because you'll often create your logo in black and white first. More often than not, like 99% of the time, you're not going to put a color in there because it needs to work in black and white. B, it's just a really good way to make sure that the contrast is correct. So this is quite a cool, a cool thing to do. Anyway, so if you've got vector artwork in Adobe Illustrator, you can just highlight everything. Over here, you've got this new recolor button, and click over to generative recolor, and then you can describe the color palette. So this will look familiar. This is a little prompt area. So you could put in, I really want it to be pastel colors or whatever. I think it's kind of cool as well to like force the client to tell you like what the color scheme might want to be. Like they might say, Johanna mentioned golden hour before. So, maybe it's a fun, vibrant brand. And you can kind of literally take those like quotes from your brief and put them into the prompt and say, this is what you said. So let's say golden hour, and then we'll generate. I think there's something really cool about that, because
this has stopped me in my tracks, mate. This.
So I know you can't see my screen, but I haven't touched color. I haven't put any colors in, but you can see. I don't know if I move this thing, but now I have golden hour color. So I think there's oranges and yellows and things like that in there. But yeah, there's also like all these extra, just variations that you can pick that they have pre-made. So if you just want to see how stuff works, you can check it out. So anyway, just a little bit of a PSA. I think it's a little bit of a, when I first heard it, I was like, you can kind of already recolor stuff pretty quick in Illustrator anyway. But the fact that it's generating the color for you and the ability to prompt, I think, is very, very cool. I really like the idea of saying to a client, can you, if you're not sure on the color, you could say, what are some brands that you want to emulate with your brand? And they might say, X, Y, Z, and then you can look at their color palette and then put it in and describe it and say, cool, here you go. This is exactly what you said. And they might say, that's not what I actually thought. And then that's fine. And you're off to the races. You can go back and forth on that. Anyway, little PSA there. Have a play around with it. Super cool. But the main thing I think it will be really great for is just when you're creating that brand, create everything in black and white. And then I would duplicate everything 3 times, 4 times maybe. And then just generative recolor everything in one hit. And then you've got like 3 or 4 different variations of your color that you can just present to your client that you've done in about 10 seconds, right? Goodness. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So there you go. We're going to get rid of Illustrator now after that. And let's jump across to both of our screens so we can check in on Johanna at the same time.
Yes. Not much has happened since. I did absolutely get sufficiently distracted and blown away by this feature. Guys, everyone, before the stream, Flynn just mentioned, there's something that's come new to Illustrator that I just need to talk about at the top real quick. So I had no idea what was going to happen. And now I'm just, the fact that I can describe colors with words, and as you do, but that it then will generate colors based off of that. That is, my mind is going places right now. So I know what I'm experimenting with over the weekend. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I should just mention as well, at the moment, it's within normal Illustrator. There isn't an Illustrator beta that you need to download like you do for Photoshop to do generative fill. It's just in Illustrator. So if you just update your normal Illustrator, it'll say that it's got a beta next to it, but it's embedded into retail Illustrator. There you go.
That
End
is
PSA, and I'll stop talking.
bonkers.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Goodness me. Now, I haven't done something nearly as exciting in the time, but basically what I'm doing is I've got a sort of sketch, but also semi-not sketch composition here that I'm just working out. I initially used the shapes tool to get an exact rectangle, and then I just drew on top of that to make sure that it's somewhat shapely, but it still has my hand-drawn feel to it because I'm drawing on top of it. So I use it as a reference, and then as soon as I've drawn my own rectangle on top of it, I just throw it away. So what I'll be doing today, because I had in my references here, I do have this little sort of tapestry, quilt, granny square.
Granny square?
Art. Yeah, granny square, like quilting.
I've never heard that before. That's
oh,
cool.
mate, so the granny square is a technique, I believe it's a technique specifically for crocheting to make those squares that you then can join together to make a quilt. Right. Or to make like a crocheted blanket. So the way that I see like the square shape here, I see like, oh yeah, that's a granny square. This, in my mind, I'm translating it to the illustration or the graphic inside of these squares and shapes have to, or ideally would be, simple enough that you could recreate them with any physical or digital medium, but also through craft as well. Right. So you could do, paint on pieces of paper and then draw these shapes and then paste them on, or you could do them with, I thought there was a spider on my leg, but there was not any spider on my leg, and I was very relaxed about it. But yeah, just making sure that the design is simple enough that it can transfer to different mediums. Because as some of you may know, I do like to jump around between different mediums and ways of making things. Right. But the things that I make generally have the same vibe about them, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, I do have with me some show and tell samples. So this, for example, I don't know how well you'll be able to see them.
Let me bring your screen up bigger. Yep, there you go.
But here you can see I have, oh, no, you can't.
That doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Take it back. Okay, good. Yeah.
Now you can see.
Yeah.
So this is as close as you can get. Maybe if I leave forward.
It's fine. You can see it fine. Don't move.
So these are watercolor and Posca markers. And basically what I'll be recreating, but digitally today, I thought, but with like a strange world, alien, mysterious, magical twist to it. If I have time.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's the simple idea we're going for here.
Gotcha.
So now I have my my foundation set, and I'm going to change my color of my brush. And for brush, I'm just using the Kyle Webster's dry media soft pastel tooth brush in size 50. And I'm now gonna up the smoothing to 40 because I do like having the smoothing on when I draw. Nice. And then looking at some of the references here, I'm just gonna get started.
Cool.
Making something.
So a little bit on me. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of outpainting again. So for those that aren't familiar with that term, so outpainting is when you kind of start with a small part of a piece of artwork that could be your own, or it could be something that is generated, and then you kind of slowly extend the canvas and basically let the AI fill in the gaps. You might have seen some people taking famous artwork controversially and then expanding out, like Starry Starry Night. Some people do not appreciate that, but it's pretty cool, I think. But yes, it does come with some problems as well. Or album covers, so like the Nirvana album cover where there's a baby swimming in a pool, and they're just kind of basically using outpainting, using generative fill to, it's not always generative fill, some sort of AI to continue extend beyond the canvas. So I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. It's also a good little tip, is that there is the resolution at the moment that you can get from Adobe Firefly is pretty locked, and it's actually pretty tight. It's like 1,700 across by 10,024 or something like that. And if you want more pixel density, this is actually a great way to get that. There was a question in chat from Barbara, Dark Hours Co. Are you in Australia?
Yes, I am, though my accent might confuse you. It confuses most people. From Sweden originally, but Flynn and I are both based in Australia at the moment, and Sydney, Australia at that.
That's right. That is correct.
Yes. And at the moment, I'm just doing very loose sort of sketch version of what I'm imagining. This is both the thumbnail and the initial sketch at the same time. So just putting in shapes. I am also referencing sketchbooks that I have where you can see I've done the same technique to kind of have a physical library of things that I've done before to help me sort of break out of my own comfort zone, and also find ways to pull it back and sort of get it to work and look nice all together by looking at stuff that I have already made.
Nice. Using yourself as inspiration. It's a great idea.
Exactly, yeah. Self-plagiarizing.
Yeah.
Can very much recommend.
You're like a human AI. Or it's just
yes.
it's just intelligence.
It is I.
It is I. Amazing. I'm pinching more photos from Firefly to add to my what will probably be a poster.
Ooh.
So again, I guess if people don't know this, I'm just going to jump over to my screen so you can see it a little bit better. Is you can also combine images as well. So you can grab two images and get generative fill to fill in the blanks between the two, which is pretty cool. It's not a technique that I've got a lot of experience in, but that's why we're experimenting with it today here at Firefly Friday, because that's what the whole point is about, a bit of experimentation. So I'm going to get another image, I'm going to put it on top, and I'm going to try and change the aspect ratio so it's looking a little bit more like a poster. It might work. It might not. But that's what I'm up to.
I definitely think it might work should be the tagline for...
No more Firefly Fridays, series. Just it might work.
Oh, yes. Firefly Fridays. It might work.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, sorry, I hit my mic there. Yeah, that sounds great. Love it. Let's see here. And actually, this is of our pre-planned schedule, I should say. This is our penultimate stream.
Oh, wow.
Which means second to last, which I have mixed feelings about that, Flynn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know what I want to do, but chat, if you also have mixed feelings about that, let us know if Firefly Fridays, or just us being silly and experimental and messing about on Fridays, is something you'd like to see more of. Because if that's the case, we will definitely continue doing this in some shape or form. For sure.
Yeah. And maybe we get, I don't know, maybe we take turns in doing it with like another person from the community or something like that.
Exactly.
Maybe it's something like that. I don't know.
We did have a couple of ideas in mind of what we could do as our as our scheduled fun comes to an end, figuring out how to keep the party going. But speaking of party, hello also to Gareth over on Behance, and to Pluto Designer,
Hey Gareth,
Black Gook, My Chop on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning into the stream. And if you like what you see, or if you don't understand it at all, post it in the chat, and we will either make more or less sense.
We might make it worse. But no, please ask questions if you have any.
Yes.
On what's going on. That's all good. Also be interested, like what you would be using Firefly for, or what you're currently using it for.
Yeah.
Just interested in what you might be playing around with, or what you're looking forward to. For me, looking forward, we just had a fantastic creative on this week of our core show, where we get, usually it's a creative professional that will get to come on. Actually, it always is, isn't it? And they'll come on and sort of teach us some things. And we have Paul Murphy on, and he's this, the Premiere Pro is his moniker. So you can guess what he's good at. And yeah, he had so many tips and tricks and stuff in editing, which I found very fascinating. And it just got me kind of excited again for video and all the video stuff that will be coming with Adobe Firefly. It's a lot of huge time-saving things that I think will help a lot of us who don't have the time or expertise to create engaging video content. And I think it's going to change a lot. I think it'll make it much more approachable for the average Joe six-pack.
The average Joe, eh?
Or Jane, or whatever.
No, that was a joke on my name.
Right. Yeah,
Joe,
of course. Yeah, Joe
could
totally be a girl's name. Joe.
Exactly. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'm sick. Blame everything on being sick.
Okay.
As long as I don't want to get cancelled today, just because I'm like, hey, I really want to do this stream.
Not at all.
You're like, oh, why didn't I stay in bed? Manny says, yes, please continue. So fun and learning so much in a relaxed way. Yeah, it's super chill stream, as you can tell. I'm not even touching my keyboard. Gareth is currently using Firefly for inspiration and using PS Better to create full scenes at 8K. Ooh.
Woo.
Got any tips on creating scenes at 8K? Interesting. Are you doing this sort of technique? Are you taking something and you kind of out painting and filling it in, or you got some other trick that I want to know? Because I want to know.
Oh, now I just have the I want to know. Da, 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 da.
Hey, we don't have the rights to that song, so let's not.
Well, could have been anything.
Yeah.
I'm very confused all the time, and that is how I live my life and learn the things that I do, is just by being confused and curious.
That's great.
As I've said from time to time, I am obnoxiously curious. So there you go. Yes, saved it.
Well done.
Reply back here from Gareth. Oh yes, he gets asked about 10 times a day in Discord about Firefly and video. So I wonder if that's something on the horizon. Not that I would know, but that sounds cool. Don't know how you would make that happen, but I'm sure the people behind Firefly are much more educated on these matters than I.
Oh, it's coming. So. It's coming.
Aha.
Yeah.
See, I didn't want to say, because I genuinely have no idea, but you heard it here first from Flynn.
Yeah. Well, they've announced a lot of it, and there's a lot of on-stage talking about it as well. So Scott Belsky, who, if you don't know, is founded Behance, actually. It was Adobe, then founded Behance, and then came back to Adobe because Adobe acquired Behance. And his creative, and he's been talking about it quite a bit. They did a little mini Max, Adobe Max on Tuesday in London for about 1,000 people. It was a free event. It wasn't filmed or live streamed it definitely wasn't live streamed. I don't think it was filmed. But he jumped up and showed, and I don't think it was a demo, but kind of showed a bit of a trailer on what's coming soon.
A sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek. That's perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely kind of like out there that it's coming, and what some of those things might be. But yeah, not out in the wild yet. It'll be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just seeing all if AI directed, or if Wes Anderson like directed Lord of the Rings and using AI to make that happen. Those have been just all over every single piece of social media that I interact with, and it's really interesting, and it's very funny how it can rely so much on the I guess the calling cards of someone like Wes Anderson, or if it's like Martin Scorsese or Sofia Coppola or something like that.
Yeah.
To make these trailers for these movies. But there is actually a new Wes Anderson movie on the way.
Coming out, yeah.
It's space themed as far as I can tell, which means I'm definitely going to see it. Because I love space, as you'll know if you watched the previous Firefly Friday, in which I made a space-themed stamp. And actually, because this is... So where I'm at in my process at the moment now is I'm just making refined shapes based on the sketches and trying to kind of figure out what colors I want to use while I'm doing this. But also knowing that I can just make a clipping mask, I'm not actually really attached to any of the colors too much, because then I can also do blend modes and all that kind of thing to make it work. But what I will do, because I haven't shared it anywhere else, is I'll do a quick sneaky peek accent? Look back. I don't know. See,
that wasn't Swedish. It wasn't Australian.
That was Johanna.
That was just Johanna.
Yeah, my accent is a mystery even to me. But I wanted to show real quick. This is where I got to in terms of my stamp from last stream. So
I like that texture a lot.
Thank you. Leaned into the reso printing, or just like the screen printing of doing one color pass each time. So I've moved around and done not so much adjustment layers, but just messed with the opacity and duplicated the layer and then just shifted it slightly to get that effect where it's kind of like it's not a fully clear picture. It's a bit out of focus, but in focus at the same time. So cool. Just wanted to show that, because what I ended up making at the end of the stream last week was not as refined as I was planning, but now you know what I actually ended up making.
Nice.
But now back to the strange and wonderful flowers. Let's see here. And this process in general, I can really, really recommend of just setting yourself a grid, or just giving yourself boxes or shapes to then draw within. I find to be really, really relaxing, because you've already got your restriction of, well, I have to draw something in this shape. And then you can either lean into drawing something that is in your usual wheelhouse or in your comfort zone of, well, I'm going to draw flowers, for example. Or you have the comfort of a small space or a very simple space to draw in, and you can really go wild and sort of be assured that there is risk taking, quote unquote, in this process, but you're not really going to make too much of a mess by doing it in this way.
Gotcha.
So this is my kind of meditation, because my brain won't sit still.
Manny said, beautiful stamp.
Yeah. I draw instead.
Nice. Yeah.
And as usual, if any of you have questions more about the process, or not even specifically about what we're drawing, but I guess how to use Fresco, or how to use Photoshop, or Illustrator.
Don't ask me how to use Photoshop.
Please, everyone, ask Flynn how to use Photoshop. That would make my day.
Please don't.
Especially since he's sick and just not well. That would be fantastic. No, don't do that. You can ask me all about
In 5
Photoshop.
years, I haven't sworn on Adobe Live once. Don't make today the day.
Will this be the day?
Please. Yeah, Gareth is saying, yes, they talked about it at Max London. The live stream had technical hitches. That's what happened. So they ended up going over to San Francisco with Hawk and various others demoing Illustrator and Express. So that's why Andrew Hockerdale was on Adobe Live for like 3 hours straight. That makes sense.
Goodness.
I don't know if it was straight, but it was like
a long time.
It was like 3 hours over like 5 hours or something. I think he was on.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow, why is he on so much? He loves this. He loves it.
Like, wow, that guy really, goodness.
It's really incredible, like what the US team can do with streams. Like,
oh yeah,
something was going wrong in London, and so they pivoted to streaming out like 5 hours of content. It's crazy. Paco is a wizard. Very cool stuff. I'm just tidying up, trying to get rid of some of this. I don't know what the technical term for it is, but I call it artifacting. Sure, that's not the right word, but just the kind of very obvious AI kind of stuff with the spot healing brush, which is kind of feels like cheating as well. Like, it's quite funny.
Yeah, I always find that there's an interesting balance between even just doing something as simple as Control Z.
Right, magic.
Control Z can feel a little bit like, oh, am I supposed to be able to change my mind so quickly?
Yeah.
But then I just realized, you know what? This is just another tool that I'm using, and if I really want to limit my workflow, my process, so that I can't do that, then I'll just pick up a pencil or a brush. But for now, these are the benefits of the tool that I've decided to use. So let's just embrace that and have fun.
Yeah. Lovely.
Let's see here. Just making the sort of, again, making the foundation for these shapes and plants, and then based off of this, I will it is called add texture and more detail within the shapes as well, to make them a bit more interesting. But very much taking the similar process of one layer and one color at a time. Once I realized that during a time where I was somewhat having a bit of a quote-unquote midlife crisis in terms of my art, or identity crisis in terms of my art, where I felt like I was making so many different things and nothing. There wasn't like a cohesive, sellable style, really. And I was getting very self-conscious about it and just, struggling a bit. But then I realized that, well, something that is the same throughout the work that I do is is that I try to keep the workflow of traditional art in mind when I make my digital art. So that my mental approach to, okay, well, I'm going to draw a picture, so I need to start with the sketch, and then I'll block in my colors, and I sometimes even go as far as, okay, well, if I have a dark color here, or if I have a light color, then I can only, now I'm messing up the order in my mind, but knowing that I have to go from either dark to light or light to dark in this area, because if I was using paint, for example, or pencils, then this is the order that I would have to go in. So giving myself realistic or sort of real world restrictions in a medium that doesn't have too many restrictions, being digital, and that kind of helps me retain the handmade sort of feel and effect in my work. Like this piece alone here could be, like I was saying at the start, could be recreated with textiles, could be recreated with paper. I'm keeping the shapes simple enough so that in its base form, I could carve this up on a piece of lino rubber, like a stamp block, and make lino cut prints with this, you know? So it's keeping it simple and having fun, and trying as many things as possible, and not necessarily, and this I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite about, but not trying to get too stuck into one way of making something, and one technique, because that's a surefire way for me to just get bogged down in, oh, well, it doesn't look like XYZ thing. Well, that's because you're using a digital paintbrush to try to recreate something that someone made by using, you know, a very specifically made handmade brush from this area of the world that, you know, has special characteristics, and that's how they got that, or that's due to the chemical reaction between the paints that they used, which again can probably not be so easily recreated, on canvas, as much as I'd most likely try. Yes.
I'm with you.
That's all I have. Alrighty. So now I'm also being mindful of time, because I do want to build in some texture.
We only have about 7 minutes left.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought we ended at
12:50.
It's 12:45. Okay. Well, let's just pick this color here and do something very simple. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to start to add a bit of texture to this instead, so I have enough time to show and do that. Okay. So what I've done is, above this yellow circle here, I've just created another layer, and I'm going to get the brush to a size that I like. And then I'm going to go into the layer properties, go to blend mode, and just start with multiply as kind of my step one. And then make that into a clipping mask. And let's see if I can't sort of recreate the kind of shape and shading that I saw in my AI research images. Something like that. And then I'll just make another layer. Again, using the same color that I've done the base shape with. And I'm actually going to increase the brush size a bit more. And change the, let's see, yeah, let's do screen. And so now I'm just not having to worry about what color I'm using to draw, and having to like sample that exact color so that my blend modes work correctly. Yeah. But really just using the same color all the time, but getting different results. And that is also a quick and simple way to bring in texture and intrigue into your work.
Intrigue. Lovely.
Yeah, I'm using the big words today.
Yeah, the big words.
Let's see. Because yeah, being mindful of the time that we have left with everyone today.
About 3 minutes to say goodbye, really.
3 minutes? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to focus on this area here. And the blend mode stage is obviously the stage where, in my opinion, you can have the most fun, because you've done all the hard work of creating the shape.
I'm going to just pop it over to my screen just to wrap up what I've done, because I have finished. So here we go. We've kind of done this Strange World poster. So it's only 2 images from Adobe Firefly brought into Photoshop beta. A little bit of out painting. I didn't really do any in painting, so in painting is just adding things in using generative fill. I don't think it needed it. I just wanted to kind of keep it abstract, and I'm sick, so I couldn't be bothered. But by doing the out painting thing, we've kind of extended the canvas a little bit, so we can make this kind of poster mock-up. On the left is basically where we got, and then on the right, this one is like a little mock-up, what it might look like if it was a poster on a wall or something like that. Very easy, very quick. Looks kind of cool, right? Manny, the poster looks amazing. Yeah, there's something about throwing things in a mock-up that really help. I did also put a photo filter over the top as well. Well, not photo filter, it's more color lookup. If you don't know where that is in Photoshop, you can just go to your adjustments layer, go to color lookup, and it will make everything look beautiful. But that's me. Let's check in with Johanna before we run out of time today. All
right. Yeah. So what I've done and what I'm doing now is just, I'm going to ignore that. I've done my base shapes. I've done a bit of texture and something interesting within those shapes. And then just done a rough background. And starting from inspiration of strange and wonderful plants, I've made a bit of a quilt, mosaic, tapestry, folk arty, strange world piece.
Nice.
And just had fun with it.
That's awesome. Well, it's 12:44, so we better go before we cut off. Thank you, everybody. Gareth, I'd hang that on my wall. Aw, that's really sweet.
I would too. It's really cool.
Poster looks amazing. Thank you very much. Throw it in a mock-up, honestly. It makes it so much better. And Manny says, thanks, Johanna and Flynn. Feel better, Flynn. Thank you very much. I will. I'm going to go get some rest now. Thank you, Johanna, for hanging out with me. And we'll see you all next week. For another one of these and some more Adobe Live. Take care,
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.